indeed. You must meet the president's high standards, and then you are subjected to further scrutiny by the Council of State. And that is not all. You are subjected to thorough background checks by national security. And probably the only appointment where it is not only the Ghanaian national security that conducts background check. The country you are headed to will also have to satisfy themselves before an agreement is issued. And I can confirm this morning that President Mahama's choices have been excellent, because so far we have received 100% confirmation. All the agreements that have come in so far, there has been no rejection, which shows that President Mahama selected the best. It was a really thorough process, and we have to commend His Excellency for the choice. So I'll be doing a brief PowerPoint presentation. That's why the podium has been taken away, so that you can all follow. We want to make good use of the large screen that the ministry has secured. And before I come to the presentation, let me commend the envoys. Mr. President says that I should inform you that you all have very excellent voices, and that he enjoyed the rendition. And you saw the government chair speaking to me. He says, I didn't know that you have choristers here in the Foreign Service. And I said, Your Royal Majesty, we have diplomats of multiple talents. And I added that in the recently organized games for the entire civil service of Ghana, and I'm glad the head of civil service is here, Dr. Agredako, the Foreign Affairs Ministry emerged the most decorated. We won virtually all the trophies. So from football, arm wrestling, table tennis, long tennis, we were the victorious ministry. So diplomats are multi-talented, multi-skilled, and we are poised not only to deliver the diplomatic dividend, but anywhere you ask us to represent Ghana, we are ready. Another round of applause for our Foreign Service. So now to my presentation. The theme for this year's Ambassadors Conference and Orientation is harnessing the dividends of diplomacy for Ghana's reset agenda. You know that President Mahama won an overwhelming mandate on the back of resetting Ghana. And the President has told us that reset must permeate every department, every sector of public service, all the way to our individual lives, our attitudes. We must reset, and we must meet the high standards that the Ghanaian people expect of us. So over the next 5 days, all our resource persons, beginning from Dr. Ishmael Yamson, who will be speaking after me, they will be focusing on how, after almost 7 decades of nationhood, how do we recalibrate, how do we reconfigure our ways so that we can reset and meet the high standards of the President and the expectations of the Ghanaian people. Now, as envoys, you will be representing His Excellency John Dramani Mahama abroad. He is a man who needs no introduction, but there have been some recent affirmations of who he is, which we must all reflect on, and it has to guide us on the work we are going to pursue abroad. As you do know, the President just returned from Singapore, and after his engagements with his counterpart, the president of Singapore, in that bilateral meeting, which President Tharman did not want to end. And colleagues who were in the meeting, you recall. After the meeting, this is what the president posted on his social media handles. The president wrote, "Ghana's President John Mahama is a man on a mission. He is determined to see his country and its young population succeed. I was very pleased to meet him today on his state visit to Singapore." That is what the president of Singapore had to say about our president. In Japan, before going to Singapore, President Mahama was in Japan attending TICAD 9. He had a bilateral meeting with the IMF Director for Africa, Abebe Amemro Selassie, and this is what he said. "I hardly hear presidents with such fine details about their country. But then, this is Ghana's John Mahama." Then there was another bilateral meeting with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. And this is what he also said. "President Mahama and Ghana represent a fundamental pillar of the United Nations." So when you are going to represent a president with this extraordinary endorsement by global leaders, you know you can only be your best and put your best foot forward at all times. It is worth reminding all of us that President Mahama is currently the AU champion for reparations. His mandate has been extended this year in Malabo. The whole reparations agenda is now a 10-year agenda which Ghana has been asked to lead, thanks to the sterling performance of President Mahama. He is also the AU champion for gender. He is the AU champion for African financial institutions. There are very few African leaders that the AU has reposed so much confidence in. And you do know that he's currently the second vice chairperson of the AU. Next year, he will be first vice chairperson. And then, inshallah, 2027, he will be the chairman of the African Union. We currently have 75 diplomatic missions as a country. So we are growing from an initial start of under 10 under the Osagefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. We are now at 75. We have 13 high commissions, 48 embassies, and 14 consulates. President Mahama has instructed that we establish new consulates. And you may have heard that one of the key outcomes from his state visit to Singapore is the agreement that both sides will deepen bilateral engagement and establish permanent footprints. So next year, we have been charged to open a consulate in Singapore. We are also opening one in Dublin, in Ireland, and an additional one in Massachusetts. Ghanaians in the US have been crying that New York and Washington cannot continue to represent the 50-state country. And so President Mahama granted us approval only 2 weeks ago for an additional consulate to be opened in Massachusetts. And then we are going to have a new consulate in Lisbon, Portugal. You do know that Air Portugal has a direct flight here. We have growing commerce. And when our PPMEB, that's Policy Planning, Evaluation and Monitoring Bureau of our ministry, did an analysis, they made a strong case for us to establish diplomatic presence in Portugal. So we are grateful to President Mahama. President Mahama loves this ministry so much that so far I have not made a request he has rejected. And I pray to continue that way. The ratio of ambassadors, I know that my colleagues here are always particular about that. They kept reminding me, Honorable Minister, please keep an eye on the ratio. Don't allow your colleagues in the political class to take all the ambassadorial positions. I am delighted to confirm to you that President Mahama has been more particular even before I raised the matter. So we are currently doing 45-55 in favor of non-career ambassadors, and that is very impressive. That is very, very impressive. So 34 non-career ambassadors, 28 career ambassadors. And I asked for a historical analysis to be done. And when you put it in perspective, you see that President Mahama has done very well. Between 1992 and 2000, from our PPMEB and the direct admin, the analysis they have done, we were doing 60-40 in favor of non-career. That must have been under President Rawlings. Then under President Kufuor, we're doing 64-36 in favor of non-career. And then under President Mills, it was 58-42 in favor of non-career. And then under President Akufo-Addo, 52-48%. So you see that President Mahama's 55-45, it's amongst one of the best. President Mahama, President Akufo-Addo have done quite well, making sure that our career diplomats, because that's the dream of all of you, I know. You want to be ambassadors one day. Many of you want to be called Ambassador Techi Mensin or Ambassador Adam or Ambassador Khadija, you know. They are your role models, and you always want to be like them, like Ambassador Ntrakwa. So I know, and we are keeping an eye on that. And President Mahama has even told me that along the line, we will see, as we are expanding and opening new consulates and embassies, who knows, we may even get to 50-50. He's discussed. Oh, a round of applause to President Mahama. And let me put this in context so that your applause will be louder. President Mahama has appointed the leanest government in history, in our recent history, the leanest. And yet, he has the most overwhelming mandate, a two-thirds parliamentary majority. So you can imagine the pressure on him. You know, others had a lot of appointments they were making at the ministerial level. And so they could have afforded, you know, to allow, you know, our diplomats to occupy the ambassadorial positions. And yet, despite the constraint, only 60 ministers, he has still managed to keep within very impressive levels of 55-45. So another round of applause. When you put this in context, you see that President Mahama has done very, very well. And I hope that Chairman of the NDC, Honorable Asiedu Nketia, will allow this to continue. We're currently doing a staff strength of 823, and Her Excellency the Vice President will be really pleased to hear today that we now have more females than males at the Foreign Ministry. So we have 463 females and then 360 males. So at the Foreign Ministry, if you want to talk about gender equality, it's not what you know about. The men are rather endangered, you know. So, so I want to come to some of the reset agenda that the President instructed us to pursue. I inherited a passport backlog of about 70,000 uncollected because we were still stuck to the old way of doing things. You have to apply manually and you have to go back to the passport office for your passport. We've decided to totally overhaul the system. We've rolled out chip embedded passports. The process began since the era of the Honorable Hanatete, but we came to operationalize it and to roll it out. But we didn't only roll out the new ICAO standard chip embedded passport. We have introduced 24-hour operations at the passport office. We've introduced e-tracking, and we have also introduced courier services. So now in the comfort of your home, you can receive your passport. You don't have to be stressing going back to the passport office for... And since 28 April this year, when we launched the program, we have successfully distributed 110,828 passports to all those who have applied through courier. So they don't have to stress. And what is also impressive about this is that we've totally eliminated the middlemen. We no longer have the infamous Goro boys who were extorting from people, taking advantage of the bottlenecks, the red tape. That has been totally eliminated. And you've seen some of the testimonies. We've highlighted some of the testimonies from, you take somebody like Prosper Donko, who posted on his Facebook page that when we say everything rises and falls on leadership, this is what we mean. So on Monday, June 30, 2025, I applied for my passport renewal. I received a notification for the delivery of my passport by 21st July 2025. I said in my head, I know when to expect it, 21st August. Then late this afternoon, I received a call. Kindly confirm your location for the delivery of your passport. It's ready. I nearly shouted, "You scammer, get off my line." But something also tells me, you relax, since he's not asking you to reset your Momo PIN. So I relaxed. In about 30 minutes, I received another call. "Hello, sir. Kindly meet me at your gate to pick up your passport." Like joke, as we say in Ghana. The passport was delivered to me right at the comfort of my home, not in 21 days, but in 3 days after my application. I started shouting. Passers by would think there was something wrong with me. Ghana can work. Ghana is rising. Thank you, Honorable Ablakwa. Thank you, President John Dramani Mahama. Thank you for restoring dignity into leadership in Ghana's politics. Lest I forget, the dignity with which I was even served at the passport office in Ho for the first time. He goes on and on. You can tell he's so excited. John Bosco also had a testimony. Jojo Chate Kwanzaa because of time. But I'm sure you've been seeing a lot of this. And there's feedback we are also receiving after the reforms we did in Washington. Nana Kofi Bafo is a very respected travel and tour operator in Ghana. He recently wrote that his experience with Washington after the shakeup we did has been remarkable, and he wants to commend the president and colleagues at the ministry for the work we have done. We won't have time for that video. The other reform that we have carried out is stride. And here we have to really commend President Mahama. He has been very, very resolute that we need to implement stride. Stride is a strategic transition from renting to infrastructure development. It's quite embarrassing that as a foreign ministry, we don't own a lot of the properties we operate in across the world. We don't own the chanceries, the residences. There are many countries you go to and we don't own a single property. We spend $50 million every year on rental. That is money that we can use to construct and own our own buildings. And the sad part is that there are 23 countries that the host governments have donated land to us freely. Recently, when we went for the AU meeting in Malabo, the ambassador appealed to President Mahama that look at prime land we have been given in between the Indian and American embassy. The Equatorial Guineans want to take it back if we don't develop it. Because since 2010, they made a donation to us. Fortunately, I can confirm to you that President Mahama has granted us executive approval. We now have cabinet approval, and we are going to implement stride. A transaction advisor has been appointed by the finance minister, and the finance ministry is looking at the funding arrangements, and there is full support for us to transition from rental to owning our own properties across the world so we can restore dignity. The other reforms we've carried out on the president's instruction, you know, the president at his investiture said Ghana is open for business again. So now the new policy, you've all received the circular. No visa processing should go beyond 5 days. A decision must be made. If you are issuing, issue within 5 days. If you are not, reject within 5 days. A decision must be made. The president has also instructed that next year we should make sure we introduce e-visas so that we can be modernized. Then I know this will excite our government chair. It's as though the government chair really has been in our management meetings. So we have been worried that for about 2 decades now, some way, somehow, I've been asking how did it happen? But this ministry no longer has a bureau for culture, for linguistics and tourism. I'm delighted to announce to you today, Gamanche, I know you are delighted to hear this news. We have now established a new bureau for culture, linguistics, and tourism. We've brought it back. And beyond culture and tourism, what linguistics will do is that it will also help us to build capacity, multilingual capacity. That is why we are losing out in a lot of international appointments. And recently in Japan, it was quite a struggle. There was only one interpreter. And once that interpreter is with the president, the rest of us had to manage somehow. It wasn't easy. You should see us do a lot of sign language in the process. But the new bureau, Culture, Linguistics, and Tourism Bureau, unfortunately, some countries have already approached us since we established the bureau, support us with capacity building in getting our colleagues to be more multilingual. And we are all going to take advantage of that so that we don't have to resort to sign language when the president is on a state visit. Then on the president's firm instruction, we've also reclaimed our ministry's land. Now all the land around this ministry is back into the ownership of the foreign ministry. We've also stopped the illegal sales of our properties in Nigeria, in Zambia. There was an arrest of the Nigerian suspect, who is Ghanaian. I should be careful so I don't create a diplomatic row. He's Ghanaian who was engaged in an illegal activity in Nigeria. Then we've also made it clear that none of our ministry's properties are up for sale. We've lost quite a number of properties in London, in Australia. We have a new policy that no sale of state assets. You know my position. I'm glad the Honorable Ranking Member is here. Sometimes he nicknames me Minister State Capture. So you can be assured that there will be no state capture at the foreign ministry. And then we've also, to strengthen that, we've established an assets register. You all received a circular, and that has been compiled. So now we know what we own everywhere in the world. There's a very sad story. We didn't know about two properties we own, very prime properties in Australia. And some officer managed to steal the documents, then quickly retired, resigned from the service, stayed in Australia, and just took over those two properties. We've lost it. We've tried all kinds of bilateral arrangements. It doesn't look good. The same situation in the UK. So now we have the challenge, we are told, is poor record keeping. Now we've updated our records. We have the assets register, and we do not want those situations to ever recur. We've created a student's desk. Then we've also addressed this issue of vehicle leases. The president was very appalled and instructed that if we would engage in a lease, it should be lease to own, not leases that really does not protect the public purse. On my first meeting with staff here, the junior staff made a passionate appeal that you need staff buses. I'm delighted to inform you that the buses, we've gone through the procurement process, and the buses have been ordered. In the next few weeks, you are going to have your buses. We've fully operationalized the Foreign Service Institute, and we've appointed its first governing board. They are here, and I want to commend you for the work that you are doing. This is another area that we have been very, very successful, and we've received tremendous support from President Mahama. The Candidatures Bureau has done a great job. Virtually all the candidates we have put forward for international positions have won. Ambassador Amachum Amwa is now the Commissioner for Health, Humanitarian Affairs, and Social Development at the AU. Honorable Kwame Adem-Senanu also was successfully re-elected, and he's on the AU Advisory Board Against Corruption. Ambassador Jane Gasua-Heto also won her election as the AU Commission member on the International Law Council. Dr. Odro Osai was also successfully elected with our full backing and support on the United Nations Committee of Experts on Public Administration. Dr. Delise Memedako also won her election as the first Director General of the African Medicines Agency. And that was a very fierce contest with another distinguished pharmacist from Morocco. and I'm glad that the Ghanaians defeated the Moroccans. We also won our statutory seats competition we engaged in on the UN Commission for Population and Development for the term 2026 to 2030. We also won the UN Commission on Narcotic Drugs from 2026 to 2029. We have the distinguished Mr. Akresi Sapon, who is going to be representing us. So we have a number of upcoming bids. We are quite confident. Ambassador Francis Datikotia, who is serving in The Hague, is running for Director General Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW. Elections are scheduled later this month. We hope that he will be successful. Justice Edward Amwako Asante has received our full backing, the President's support for UNHRC Advisory Committee, also slated for later this month. Then Professor Paul Kuruk, that celebrated international jurist, is also receiving our full support for the international justice for October 2025. Then we have a re-election and quite a number of them. So we really have been very active. The President has charged us that we need to increase our presence in international organizations. If you look at the quotas available to us, we are not doing well at all. We are in a lot of AU, ECOWAS, UN, I mean, much smaller countries way ahead of us. And we are being very bullish and rigorous about it. And I'm glad that we are seeing successes in that area. We've had quite a good number of bilateral negotiations that have turned out well. And you do know the biggest one that is really exciting, particularly the sports fraternity, is the visa waiver agreement with Morocco. You no longer require visas you don't have to also go for visa interviews. You just do it online, and it's working so well. The last time we checked, more than 2,000 Ghanaians since we signed this have visited Morocco, and the feedback is very good from the visa waiver process. We've done same with Colombia. You don't need visas to go to Colombia once you have a Ghanaian passport. Same for the Dominican Republic. All categories of passports, diplomatic service, ordinary passports. Sao Tome and Principe, and then visa waiver agreements between Mozambique, all categories of passports. We've done same with Angola as well, which is before cabinet. And I can confirm to you that all of this have gone through the processes under Article 75, cabinet approval, parliamentary ratification. So they've been ratified and they are all in force. We've also finally ratified the host agreement for Accra, and we recently also made history. We've joined the elite category of countries against the prohibition of nuclear weapons. That has been ratified, and Ghana is in good company. And perhaps this is the time for us to really remind the world that it doesn't pay to have nuclear weapons. We really have to disarm and dismantle. We have ongoing labor mobility agreements. We are working with the Ministry of Health on this, and discussions are going on with Jamaica, Germany, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Qatar, UAE, Serbia, and Bulgaria. We have done well. We've trained a good number of nurses, and some of them are at home waiting for financial clearance. What is the point in keeping them at home when other countries need them? We've trained them already. We have met the UN ratio. They are at home. There is no point. And unemployment, as you know, in Ghana is at 18.7%. President Mahama says that we should really expedite work on these labor mobility agreements. And he's set up a team that is retraining, offering certification so that they can be able to fit into the international market. And that is going very, very well so far as this is concerned. Then who can really challenge us that Ghana's international image is soaring and is at an all-time high? Ghana has become the envy. I go into meetings and foreign ministers are asking me, how are you people doing it? What's happening? Everybody wants to come to Ghana. Everybody is inviting your president. And I say it's the grace of God. And we thank the Almighty But it also shows that we are doing a lot right in our country and in our foreign service. Prime Minister Modi has been here. That was a big one. The international community was really impressed with that. The Czech president has been here. President Mahama has been on a state visit. The first president in the history of our country to be invited on a state visit to Singapore. He deserves a round of applause. Deserves a round of applause for that. The good news is that there is no end in sight. The German president has confirmed he's on his way to Ghana. He wants to pay a state visit. The Canadian Prime Minister has also confirmed he wants to be here. And then they don't also want to keep President Mahama here with us. President Xi has also invited him on a state visit to China. The royal family has also invited him in Qatar. So the president has a very, very busy schedule. And all of this is to buttress the point that we are doing very well. We have a soaring international image. And as you take your positions, you should be conscious of this and represent Ghana very well. Now, the famous delivery unit. So we decided that as part of the reset vision of President Mahama, this ministry must plug in, and we don't have to be left out. So we decided to appoint a distinguished ambassador, Ambassador Alexander Grant in Accra, a retired head of mission who we had to recall from retirement. And here again, we have to thank President Mahama. He had just put out a directive that no ministry should engage a retiree and that we should allow the young ones to also grow. I had to go appeal to him, make a special case that this is an assignment that requires a very senior person. You are going to be like the IGP, be monitoring, making sure that we are all performing, we are abiding by our KPIs. So you can't use, a junior diplomat for that. And you need somebody who's retired, who's seen it all, and who can do it. And President Mahama did not hesitate at all. He made an exception only for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Another round of applause. So the delivery unit has been working in earnest, and they have been responsible for putting together the KPIs President Mahama will be launching. And I am so honored and humbled to say that this is the first time in the history of the Foreign Ministry of Ghana that our ambassadors are going to work with KPIs. We are going to work with a measurable performance framework. And it shows our willingness to support the President's reset agenda and to set very high standards, which we are known for, by the way. And it's always good to push yourselves to more higher standards. So economic diplomacy is at the center, responsive consular services, and institutionalized accountability. Those have been the guiding principles. And you see when the KPIs are launched and presented to you that they are very, very smart, they are specific, they are measurable, they are attainable, they are realistic, and they are time-bound. Now, these are some of the selected KPIs that we'll be working with. And once again, the government chair will be delighted to see this, because in his very well-written address and well-delivered address, he talked about how we must improve trade volumes. Government chair, I'm very happy to inform you that every mission, we have country-specific KPIs. And the minimum threshold we have set is that everybody must increase trade volumes by 10% annually. That's the minimum. The minimum. Some have been giving 15%, some 20%, some 25%. Our colleague going to India, God help you, yours is 25%. Because unfortunately for you, President Mahama and Prime Minister Modi, during Prime Minister Modi's state visit, agreed that in their tenure, the next 4 years, they want to double the trade volumes. And the only way it can be doubled is for us to do 25% every year. So you have the highest, because our presidents have agreed. So, Prof, God help you. We are praying with you. And But everybody has a minimum of 10%, and some of the other selected KPIs, we are going to make sure that we keep an eye on economic diplomacy, creating market opportunities for Ghanaian businesses made in Ghana. You have to focus on that. It shouldn't always be about people coming to exploit our natural resources. We also want to enter their market. We want to build brands that are international. So that will be a target. A number of PJCCs, we've done the analysis. They've been moribund for years. You will be required to revive all of them within 6 months. And what is impressive about these KPIs is that you have a period for attaining them. Some are 6 months, some are 1 year. You know, so when the president receives the report from Ambassador Intrakra's delivery unit, and he wants to take a decision whether you are keeping your job or not, it's very easy for him to decide, because we have what you must achieve in 6 months, what you must achieve in 1 year, what you must achieve in 2 years. So as for that one, you can't blame the minister. It's not me. It's not about whether I like you or not. It's what the dashboard is saying. There will be a performance dashboard, and it is very empirical. It's evidence-based. So we're talking about driving a minimum 10% annual increase in tourist arrivals as well. And I know Honorable Jifa Gomashi will be very happy to hear about that. So minimum 10%, some have up to 15% looking at the historical performance. So if you look at the general philosophy underpinning these KPIs, it's about a relentless pursuit of performance, of excellence within what you call Afro-pragmatism, what Nkrumah aptly described as friends of all, enemies to none. So we want to build resilience in this increasingly transactional and insular world. We are also going to make sure we pursue a new development paradigm of resource control and integrated value addition. If you have been listening to President Mahama carefully, he wants us to take control of our resources. For many decades, we've been allowing others to come take all our gold away. What are we getting from it? So the leases that are coming up, you notice that President Mahama is renegotiating, and he's playing hardball in Ghana's interest. That's how it should be. So no longer softballs, negotiations that are rip-offs, that are just sweetheart deals. You allow others to come and just take advantage of us. We are no longer in that era. Then we are going to leverage the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We host the Secretariat, and we must make sure that in all our deliberations, in all our in our conduct, we are improving our trade and leveraging the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Then we are also in the process of formulating a comprehensive foreign policy, which was another manifesto pledge that President Mahama made. And I want to thank the committee. I see Ambassador Spio Gabra here. He's been part of the team with Ambassador Chris Podo. They've been doing a great job. They are almost done, really. They are almost done, and I want to salute them. Ambassador Ken Kanda and all of these our distinguished ambassadors who are helping us to put that together. Now, as we get to the end of my presentation, I have been reflecting on what happened last week, and it's really interesting. So, President Mahama goes to Japan for only 2 days. 2 days. And he got all this for Ghana in 2 days. He revived the Volivo Dofwadidome Bridge, which he calls the Yokohama Bridge. He secured funding for the Kumasi Inner City Ringway project. He got Toyota to agree to come expand their operations and make Ghana their West Africa hub. He got a groundbreaking space agreement signed. And then he made a strong pitch for us to benefit under Japan's 300,000 youth in AI training program. Special cooperation anchored on the latest scientific research boost for rice production. He secured $100 million for new agricultural projects, and the team has already arrived. They've already started that project. Then he's made a strong case. Japan announced that they want to invest $1.5 billion in Africa over the next 4 years. He's already submitted our priority project to them, which has received approval. This is just 2 days in Japan. This is what President Mahama achieved. There's even more. Then he moves to Singapore. And in just 2 days in Singapore, because the state visit was 26 to 28, in just 2 days, President Mahama secured additional $200 million funding by Olam. You remember Olam, this is an international conglomerate. They are going to invest $200 million. They are going to open a new pasta processing plant. Next year, it will be commissioned. They have invited President Mahama to be their special guest. They say it will create 4,000 jobs. So $200 million from Olam. Then Shangri-La, the global hotel chain, they have agreed to come invest $300 million. I was in that meeting. It was over dinner when instead of President Mahama enjoying his meal, he made a strong case for our ministry that he pities us the way the AICC is looking these days. It's very unbefitting of our status. There are structural integrity reports saying that we need to prepare to really decommission. So he said that, look, we need to become the conference destination for West Africa. And he wants investors to support him to achieve that. After he made the pitch as our chief marketing agent, Shangri-La had no choice. They were so impressed. They pledged $300 million. And they have already signed a letter of intent with us. And they called me yesterday. They are sending a team. They want us to be ready for them for the feasibility studies to begin. They want to go see the site. It will be at the old Shangri-La Hotel. And fortunately, it's also linked to the Accra Mall. So they are excited about the location. And just 2 days. I'm not done. 10,000 capacity students hostel for the University of Ghana. He secured that in 2 days. New Kotoka International Airport enhanced security and scanners project. He secured that. And you know we've been having issues with drug trafficking and smuggling because our technology has become obsolete. The criminals have, as usual, they always find a way around it. And President Mahama says we are going to get ahead of them. They've already agreed. The Singaporeans are coming to invest. They've also said they are coming to invest at Tema Port and then the revival of the Tema Dry Dock. They are coming to construct a new jetty for our oil ships. And then President Mahama says number 7 is his favorite. The cooperation with the Singapore Land Transport Authority to establish testing labs. President Mahama, like all of us, is worried about the quality of our roads. He found out on the state visit that the Singaporeans, before you use materials to construct your roads, you go to a lab for the materials to be tested, for us to be sure that the quality, even the kind of cement you are purchasing and all of that, meets the right standard so that there will be durability. And he says that he's going to establish these labs. And before any road construction, before the big push is launched, those labs must be ready and running. And one of our young chemistry graduates called me and said, look, people have been teasing us that when you do chemistry, you don't have much really. But he's excited about these labs. And they say that the chemistry students are going to really have jobs to do working here. But more importantly, our roads which have not been lasting because of shoddy materials, substandard materials. Point number 7 is going to deal with that. President Mahama secured that. He also secured a collaboration with the central banks of Ghana and Singapore to have a payment platform which is going to revolutionize commerce between Africa and Asia. The Minister of Education was with us. Another TVET agreement was signed with the Singapore Institute of Technology. And we have a carbon credit agreement with the Singaporeans, and we outlined a number of projects that we are going to roll out. So my next slide details a lot more of what was achieved in in Singapore, including 18 chief directors, following from the president's strong pitch. He wants us to collaborate, to have, because you know their standards are high, efficient, their delivery, their work ethic. And President Mahama secured immediately a partnership that will allow 18 chief directors immediately, just this month of September, to go and study for capacity building and return in a few weeks. 18 chief directors. 18 chief directors. So, Dr. Agredako, you see that President Mahama didn't abandon your head of civil service role. You received full support. So, the question that I've been asking myself is that if President Mahama achieved all this in just 4 days, 2 days in Japan, 2 days in Singapore, and you are going to spend 4 years, do you have an excuse? Do you really have an excuse to come back home empty-handed? As for you, you don't win for Ghana, no agreement for Ghana, no increase in scholarships, no increase in trade volumes, no PJCC. We don't see any support for the present priority areas, 24 economy, a big push, Women's Development Bank. Madam Vice President is here. And you want us to keep you at post and be commending you and be saluting you and for you to be enjoying all the privileges and courtesies, as you call them, which you deserve, no doubt. You deserve all the privileges and courtesies. But if the president, let's all reflect, and it starts from me. So because I've been really, people think I'm only excited that President Mahama achieved all that, but I've also been quite petrified, because if your boss can achieve this in 4 days, then you as minister and your ambassadors, you really have no excuse. You have to make sure that you deliver. So President Mahama, as I conclude, has instructed that you don't give people KPIs, new targets, without looking at their conditions of service. So I'm happy to announce to you today what you have been waiting for a long time. President Mahama has given us the approval, and this morning I signed your new foreign service regulations. So you now have enhanced conditions of service. And we've introduced even new allowances. We now have KPI allowances. So those who meet their KPIs, you'll get special allowances. So it's a bonus. It happens in the private sector. It happens in the private sector. So we need to, because it shouldn't be everybody's receiving the same, whether you deliver or not. That will not be motivating. So we've worked on that. Then I came to this ministry and noticed that a lot of the missions have not been commemorating a national day. Others are always inviting us, and then we don't commemorate ours. Some have been commemorated that for 5 years, 6 years. We are saying that has to stop. It's now compulsory under the Foreign Service Regulations. And we've introduced a new allowance for that, a new allowance for the National Day. So even if funding doesn't come from the budget, at least you have an allowance as head of care, at least to host a decent reception, have an art exhibition, culture exhibition, and let Ghanaians see, let the international community see what Ghana is made up of. So we've introduced a novelty too for those who are posted to the hardship missions. And Mr. President, we have hardship missions here. We've classified them for good diplomatic reasons. I will not mention the countries, but I don't want to start any conflict. But when you get the document, you see the classification. And we've introduced a very creative system where those who agree to go serve in these hardship countries, you are not obliged to be there for 4 years. After 2 years, you can put in a request to be cross-posted. And President Mahama gave us full approval to do that. So you can be cross-posted. And within the 2 years, you are also entitled to more home leaves. Visit home unlike the others who are in the other posts. And it will be fully paid for by the ministry. It is at the ministry's cost. And then we also introduce an insurance package. If you are in a war zone, for example, we should have an insurance package. If something happens to you, at least your wife and children should be in the knowledge that they will be catered for. So these are very, very good reforms that we got the president's blessings to outline. And we've also enhanced the education grant. The education grant I came to meet for 3 children was atrocious. And it doesn't even pay the fees of 1 child. So when we discussed with the president, he says, please go ahead, increase it. And they are going to deliver. They are going to bring a lot for Ghana. So let's support them. So that has been done. And then this is the most exciting one that I know you've been waiting for. President Mahama has granted executive approval for the vehicle duty allowance. So the vehicle duty allowance is going to be restored. But there is a caveat. It's only for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Yeah. So we don't want others to start agitating and to put sand in our gari. So the principle is clear. As we give people more tasks, more targets to meet, we have to also give them the tools, and we have to resource them, and that has been done. My final slide, our charge is to assist President Mahama, the man on a mission, as the Singaporean president said, the man on a mission to achieve his vision for resetting Ghana. I have no doubt that colleagues here, you have the gravitas, you have the expertise, you have the love for country, the patriotism, you have the know-how to help the president achieve his vision. And I have no doubt that we will succeed together, and the Ghana ship will remain afloat, and we shall conquer the world together, as we have always done. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you. Let's put our hands together. And as we rise, the Foreign Affairs Minister, Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, gets a standing ovation.
PRIZM Multimedia. When you go so share, now me say akwenya no ho de maw, say wo be subscribe, ye the video to ma, where the first person I won sabet me aso ye video mu, na wo so so a wo your man papa no wetumi ehunu ne ekoso e wo man mu. Like adintre bi so ho na opese wuja, fato comment section ni mu. Edi ba ko pe na fa frame, make meje so. Me si ha da mu nyina nwase mamumoni ti a ye je me enyado.